Hello and welcome to With Winning in Mind. We are talking about the three stages of goal. If you have a big goal that you want to accomplish and you want to be successful, you're at the right place. Today we're going to get wisdom from Lanny, the founder of Mental Management Systems, Hall of Famer in rifle shooting. And you have an interesting take on reaching goals, not just goals, but big goals. And that is there's certain stages that you're going to go through if you're looking at a big goal. So first, before we jump into these three stages, what do you think what qualifies as a big goal? What do you think makes a big goal versus just a normal or smaller goal?
Well, most of the time, the people can relate to big goals in their life. You know, finding a person to be married to, that's a big goal. Maybe graduating from high school or graduating from advanced post high school, like college or something like that, or getting a promotion in a job, or winning a tournament that is like a national championship or anything like that, or maybe even you could consider a big goal as whatever you consider it to be a big goal. A little goal is all right. What TV show am I going to watch tonight? What are we going to have for dinner at home? Those kind of things are actually have goals, but big goals are things that normally take a while, and normally it requires some growth. And I identify a big goal to be something that you have to be better than you are today to reach it.
So it's a little bit of a life-changing type of scenario.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into these three stages, because you say that everyone who's going through a big goal, I relate this to university level. You know, I'm going to go to college, get a bachelor's degree. For most young adults, that's probably one of their first big goals to try to accomplish. And I know all three of these stages, I bet 95% of all people who go to college are going to go through these three stages. Or if they don't get to the third one, they're probably not going to graduate. So
that's right.
You want to tackle those for us? So what's the first stage that?
Sure. So maybe the best way to describe this is back at 9/11, when 9/11 happened. Within 3 days after 9/11 happened, I lost 40% of my income, and the reason that happened was that that 40% was primarily from giving keynote speeches at corporate events. And I'd paid some attention to becoming a relatively good enough professional speaker to public speaker to get booked at major corporations to do a keynote address. And when 9/11 hit, within 3 days, all of those were canceled. And well, not only was it canceled, but I had learned that from talking to other corporate speakers that when you get an audience that's over 200 people, there's somebody in that audience when you do a talk, if you do a good talk, that's going to hire you back next year. Well, all of my talks were audiences were more than 200. So I mean, this was ongoing business that was lost, because if those talks didn't happen, then the future talks that those talks would spawn were gone. And so I needed to do something else. I'm not going to get that back anytime soon. So I had to do something. So it was at a time. Do you remember? Maybe some of you that are watching this can remember when we had dial-up internet. That was painful. I mean, you click a button on a web page and you wait for 45 minutes before it changes. Well, dial-up internet was being replaced by high-speed internet. And a lot of companies were moving their business online because of this advancement, and I wanted to move mental management to online, and I thought that well, maybe this is a good time for me to pay attention to this, and so my son Brian, your brother, was director of admissions at DeVry, so at university, and so I went to him and I told him what I wanted, and I said, "You guys teach these kind of things," and he says, "Well, Dad, if you're willing to go to school for 8 hours on Friday and 8 hours on Saturday for a year, you can get a Bachelor of Science degree in information technology, and I'm sure during that process they're going to teach you how to do that." And I thought, oh, going back to school, I love to learn things, and frankly, I always wanted to go back to school because my first attempt at college, I went to college to get out. I didn't go to college to learn something, and I thought, well, I'm gonna rectify that. So I was in the first stage. The first stage is called attraction. Attraction is when you are focusing on what the benefits are to you of achieving the goal. So I thought, okay, first of all, I'll get my company up on online, and I will be able to be more satisfied about my ability to be a student. And I was so excited about going back to school, and I could still work and during the week, and like Friday and Saturday I'm going to be in class, and so I didn't see too much of a downside. It wasn't all that expensive, and so I was in attraction. I was thinking about all the benefits of doing that. Well, the second stage of a goal is distraction. Distraction occurs. For me, it's when you stop thinking about the benefits and you start thinking about the price you're paying. Well, it hit for me in the very first exam. Now, I was going to school. Now, you got to understand how I was approaching school this time. I mean, I'm older than anybody else in the class.
How old are you at this time? 50?
Yeah, I'm Olympic gold medalist and all that kind of stuff. I was viewing school like a World Cup, like a tryout, like Olympic Games. I mean, I was studying stuff like that. I sat on the front row. I sat right under the professor's nose, and I asked more questions than anybody else. I did more homework than anybody else. I was going to ace every course, and so I knew this material cold, and so I go into that first exam and thinking I'm confident. My self-image is up, and I'm confident that I'm gonna just like I'm gonna win this rifle match. I'm gonna make an A in this course. So he handed me this exam, and it was worth 25% of my grade. And there were 4 questions on the exam, and each one worth 25 points. And I read the first question, and I was clueless to what he was talking about. I mean, you put something down on the paper, you're going to get some points. Well, I was clueless. How did I miss this? I mean, I'd studied this information cold.
Maybe you're in the wrong class.
So I hit distraction. And I started thinking the wrong way. I started thinking about what I didn't like about this class. Well, one of the things I didn't like about it was that it totally screwed up my weekends, for a solid year. I mean, I couldn't do anything on Saturday. And just so happened that very weekend, I was being inducted into the Hall of Fame at Fort Benning. You were stationed at the marksmanship unit at the time. And so I had to call you and say, pick up my Hall of Fame award, and I couldn't go. And the reason why I couldn't go was because I couldn't miss this class. I mean, you miss a class in that kind of accelerated program, and you're pretty much toast. And so I I did not go, and that upset me. That I was thinking about the things I didn't like about the class and about doing this, and that's what distraction is. It pulls you away from the benefits of the goal, and you start to focus on the price that you pay, and what you don't like about that, and you quit thinking about solutions. You start thinking about the problem, and that's what happens in distraction. Then it suddenly hit me. I teach this stuff. And, I know there's 3 stages, and I know what the third stage is. The third stage is traction. And traction is a stage where you stop thinking about the cost, you stop thinking about the outcome, and you start thinking about what is there about me that needs to change here to take the next step, to get back on track. What do I need to do next? Well, what I needed to do next was to look, I'm not going to get any points on this first question, but maybe I can get some points on the second question. So I go to the second question. Well, I knew the second question. I knew the third question. I knew the fourth question. I'm the first one through with the exam. And I go up to the professor, and I drop the exam on his desk, and I said, "That's the best 75 you'll ever see." He said, what are you talking about? I said, I had a little trouble with that first question. And he said, "Let me see your paper. You didn't write anything down." I said, "I know what you were talking about." And he reads the question, and he says, "Oh," he said, "I teach COBOL and C." We were in C programming class. And he said, "I teach COBOL and C. I got the questions mixed up. That's a COBOL question. I'm going to have to throw that out."
So you got 100.
Well, when you throw that out, I made a good grade. So 90% of everything you worry about never really happens. So that's the 3 stages of a goal. And the key is to don't get caught in the mud in distraction. When you feel the pull for you to, I can't do it, or this isn't working out for me, and all that stuff, you need to quick change. You need to change to, what do I have to change about me to make it work? There's a reason why you set this goal.
So how did you go from that distraction mode to traction? Was it on the way home that you started getting traction mode and started focusing on
No.
the right things?
It was during the exam. It was during the exam when I realized that all I've been thinking about since I couldn't answer that question was all the things I didn't like about going to school. I mean, I went from the exam straight to the idea of going to school on the weekends, and the fact that I couldn't be at my Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and that I started thinking about all the things I didn't like about going to school. It was way past this exam. I was, okay, I made a bad grade. It's just like if you use a college exam. So how many times do kids go to college and thinking, okay, I get to all the ball games and go to school with my friends and all this stuff and learn some stuff, and then they find out there's a lot of work in a college education, and you get faced with the work and you get a little overcome, and you say, no, I'm just going to quit, and well, that's distraction, and so you come home all discouraged and everything. You make a bad grade or something like that, and you start throwing the whole thing out, as I'm not going to do this anymore, and that's what distraction does to you. And when you feel that, you've got to. It's very hard for you to go back to the reason why the benefits of this thing. Because you've seen, you don't always know what the cost is when you first start a big goal. As a matter of fact, I don't think you ever know all of the costs in the beginning of going for a big goal.
That's probably a good thing because you probably wouldn't do half
Oh
the
yeah, I
things.
probably wouldn't do it if you knew what it was really going to cost. But I believe this is true, and I just believe that that God wouldn't let you believe to set this goal if there wasn't a way for you to get it. It's I mean, the people that I have met that have had inspirational stories about how they've achieved great things, or read about these great things, like the Karoly Takacs story, or the Michael Gross story. We tell those two stories a lot, and or even Wilma Rudolph. Wilma Rudolph had polio as a child. They told her she would never walk. She wins 3 gold medals in track. Well, I'm sure that Wilma Rudolph had to go through a lot of pain and agony to be able to rehabilitate herself enough to be able to run well enough to win a gold medal in track. I mean, it's almost like when you have the distraction can be a motivator for you if you look at it the right way. What is it about you that needs to change? And when you face that and you look for a solution to be able to do that, I mean, in my example, it happened relatively quickly. But if I had not known about that there was a third stage, and I just thought, well, the second stage is I'm just going to walk out of the classroom. I'm not going to do that. And so what is the third stage? Well, the third stage is traction. Stop thinking about what it costs and start thinking about what do I have to change about me to make it work. And that's when I made the decision I'm not going to worry about what it costs. I'm going to face it. Okay, how can I make the best grade possible here? And I didn't know that the question was wrong.
Looking at why you were going for that goal in the first place, is that a technique that you look at as far as getting and staying in traction? I'm focusing on what I don't like. I need to focus on what I need to change about me. Is it helpful to go back and remind yourself why you started this in the first place?
Well, of course it does. I mean, but I'm telling you that's not enough. To go back and remind yourself of why you did this, that's a good technique. But I'm saying that's not enough. I'm saying that you need to focus on what do I have to change about me? What habit or attitude needs to change about me to get back on track? Because you can say, well, you can look at it this way. You can go back to why you got started, and you might even make it worse. But you say, well, look, I've lost all that, and well, that's not going to help you get back on track. But if you start to focus on, well, what do I have to change? What attitude or habit do I need to change? Maybe I need to study more. Maybe I need to learn more. Maybe I need to be more disciplined. Maybe I need to have a better attitude. I knew that this much. I knew that there was a third stage, and that helped me a lot. I think that everybody that understands, that watches this and realizes that when you hit distraction, if you know that there's a third stage, that if I do that third stage, I'm going to be back on track. I'm going to overcome this thing.
So it becomes really, really difficult not to get the goal once you get into traction mode.
Yeah, that's right. And don't be surprised if this cycle doesn't repeat over and over and over again. You hit an obstacle, you have to overcome the obstacle, and the big goals have obstacles in the way, and you can't ignore those. You have to but an obstacle is an opportunity for you to learn something about you, and to overcoming is one of the greatest things that a person can experience in personal growth. Is you've got a problem, and you get over the problem, or you go through it, or you learn something about you. You become better so that you can overcome this obstacle. And we often say this. I heard this from an ex-Navy SEAL. He said that he told me one time that overcoming is the currency of champions. You know, is that you give me a person that's overcome a lot. They can do almost anything, because they have a lot of confidence in themselves at that point.
And that's the whole Karoly Takacs example. Overcoming what happened to him, or the other people that you talk about. So if you're
you might want to explain who Karoly Takacs is right quick.
Well, Karoly Takacs is I mentioned him in my book Attainment because he did something that I just think is not just inspirational, but just who in the right mind would do what he was looking at doing. He was a Hungarian pistol shooter. You would tell the story over and over and over, and I'm like, man, that's gotta be in literature somewhere. I don't know if anyone else shares the story, but the short and skinny is it. He was in the military. He was doing training exercise with hand grenades, and as I understand it, the person he's working with when they were doing a training exercise dropped the hand grenade. He quickly grabbed it with his right hand. He is right-handed, throws it over the barrier, and he couldn't get his hand down fast enough, and it went off, and it took his part of his hand or most of his hand off to where he wasn't going to be able to shoot pistol again. Yeah. So now he's in the hospital, lying there looking at his situation, and his shooting days are over. I mean, this guy's was one of the up-and-coming pistol shooters that's going to win the Olympics for his country. He's dominant. He's a favorite.
He was a current world champion at the time.
And so here he is now thinking, well, I'm never going to get to go win the Olympics now because I don't have this. So at least this is what everyone around him was saying. It's sad. Look at the opportunity he had in front of him, and now it's just been taken away because of this accident. And so everyone's just sitting there thinking, well, this is just sad. This is tragic. This is just not going to happen for him. They felt bad for him. Meanwhile, he's in the hospital looking at the left hand thinking, well, this guy works. Yeah. So I don't need both hands. You're only allowed to hold the pistol up with one hand in international pistol anyway. So he's like, well, I'll just use this hand. And so there's a famous picture of him where he's holding the pistol in his left hand, but he's using his right eye to do that. And so understanding how the hands and eyes work and that kind of stuff, it kind of makes it a unique photo. And so he's secretly trained, developing, shooting with his left hand, which I don't know how painful that was because you're used to a really good hold. I'm pretty sure if I tried to shoot left-handed, it would be a disaster. But he trained and trained and trained. He shows up at the national championships, and everyone's excited to see him because they hadn't seen him since the accident. And they were shocked when he says, oh, no, I'm not here to watch. I'm here to compete. And then they were really surprised when he won. Yeah. And then he winds up going, on the national team. Here it is, going to go to the Olympics. Well, this is during the 1940s. There's a world war going on during this time. So guess what got canceled? The Olympics. Mm-hmm. So now here's a guy that's making his runway, got to where he needed to be, and now he can't shoot the event he's training for because of a global event has canceled it. So now he's got to wait 4 more years. But what does he do? He shoots through it, and next thing you know, he winds up winning the Olympics. And most people, I'd say 99.9% of the people, would have done what I would have done. Well, it's just done. I would have never thought, oh, I got a left hand. It works. I don't think most people would have looked at it. They would have said, no, I'm done. But this is the whole overcoming thing. It takes that type of mindset in order to get really good. Because if you're going to be the best in the world at anything, you have to beat other people that have that mindset. How are you going to do that if you don't have that out-of-the-box thinking, that willingness to push through it And I bet you he went through a lot of distraction periods during his training. But when you look at it from a standpoint, big goals, everyone has similar big goals. Some people have very unique big goals. But are you letting something as simple as one little distraction keep you from getting what you really want? It happens in life to all of us. Most people that I know that are older that go through a master's degree program, the first year, no problem. That second year, distraction is right there. It's like, is it really worth? I mean, is it really going to give me more pay? Is it really going to help me get a better job? What if it doesn't? I'm wasting this period of my buddies are doing this. I could be doing this. No, you're like working. You're not able to do things. You're probably, especially if you're an age where you have kids. Kids are doing activities. You want to be a part of it, but you can't do it because you're studying at home. So the spouse is over there helping the kid, watching them play games and training and competing and that kind of stuff, and you're missing things. So it's really hard to get through the traction mode. And one of the techniques that I found that has worked well is forward focus, where I've got to think, okay, let's say I completed it today. What's my life going to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? So if you're a school teacher and you're thinking about getting your master's degree, most educators, as far as elementary, K through 12th grade, let's say, the reason why they're not going to pursue a master's degree is they're going to pay 10 to 15 grand for a degree, and they're only going to get a stipend that's $1,000 to $1,500 in most cases a year. So it's going to take me 10 plus years to recoup my money back that I'm paying for the master's program. Well, why would you do it then? I don't know if I'm going to be teaching 10 years from now. But let's say you're going to teach, beyond that. You're going to teach for 20 more years. Well, then that 11th to 20th year, that extra $1,000, $1,500, in some cases $2,000 a year, now becomes viable. And you start thinking, well, if I did that and I had that extra $1,000, what if I just invested it? Now I'm not in my, I'm not 30 anymore. I'm in my 50s. I'm going to be teaching it to my 60s, but now I'm taking that $1,000 and I'm putting it into my investment, adding it into a retirement fund. What would that do in 10 to 15 years' time to build up by the time you actually do get to retirement age? Well, if you can forward think and put yourself in that scenario, I think it helps you as far as motivation to go through and finish that. Because, what is it? It's 2 years of my life and whatever the cost is. But once I get past, okay, I paid for it, and now I'm getting the benefit down the road. But if you don't do that, you'll never finish.
Yeah, but it's a good example of what do I have to change about me to make it work. Well, one of the things that you explained was that you have to change from the present thinking to the future thinking, and that makes a lot more sense. That gives you some extra motivation to get through the current issue that's kind of stopping you.
So if you want to reach big goals in your life, it starts with hitting that thumbs up button. We greatly appreciate that if you do that. If you haven't subscribed, please think about it. But if you're really going after something that's a big goal that you're serious about, think about why you're doing it. Stay in the traction mode. If you do get distracted, get on the traction mode. Think about the benefits of why you're doing this and forward thinking about what it's going to do for you in your future life. And you'll greatly improve the probability of accomplishing that goal and being a much better individual. We thank you for listening and have a good day.